Let's spend some time with Orlando Sentinel movie critic Roger+Moore at the movies.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Good production quality, guys.
Frankly, my dear, on Open Mic.
Ah, yeah. Time to go to the movies with Roger+Moore, Orlando Sentinel movie critic, a guy I consider to be the best movie critic in the country, and a man who once personally interviewed Jimmy Buffett. You can read Roger's stuff in the Orlando Sentinel, or you can read his wildly popular blog, Frankly, My Dear, at orlandosentinel.com. Roger, before we get started on the movie, since you have personally interviewed Jimmy Buffett, will you interpret a Jimmy Buffett lyric for me?
Sure, fire away.
Okay, my personal favorite Jimmy Buffett song is A Pirate Looks at 40, all right? What is
Yeah,
it?
we both look at 40, way back.
Yeah. What is what does this mean? Yes, I am a pirate 200 years too late. The cannons don't thunder. There's nothing to plunder. I'm an over 40 victim of fate.
He's a man bored out of his time. You know, he's a smuggler, which is what the song is about.
Mm-hmm.
A drug smuggler. And if you have his live album, I think from like 1980, You Had to Be There, he talks about the song before he sings it. And one of the things he does is he explains it for people who haven't quite picked up that it's about a sort of a drug smuggler who likes younger women and bringing the goodies in through Miami, as he put it, I think, on the live album. So that's what it's about. He's a pirate. That's what pirates are today. But of course, pirates, you know, they're pretty. The drug smuggling trade's a pretty ruthless trade. So it was a more benign view of that back about 30 years ago.
Love you, Roger. Thank you for that.
Back at you, babe. Hey, let's talk about Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick? What'd he do?
He's in
What
the
do
new.
you think? I mean, you're obviously not listening to his show after your show goes off.
He's in the
because,
Adam Sandler movie. Just go with it. That comes out today.
Oh.
He's in Just Go With It. He's been plugging the hell out of it for about 3 weeks now on his show. He's in it. He's in a lot of Adam Sandler's movies. He and Sandler are buds, and I guess Sandler's the one person Dan Patrick can dunk on. But whenever Dan Patrick does a cameo in one of Adam Sandler's movies, that means Adam Sandler has a lot of control over it, and that means the movie's crap. Patrick is actually okay in this movie. This is a movie that patches Adam Sandler in with Jennifer Aniston. Adam Sandler makes a lot of bad movies on his own. Jennifer Aniston makes a lot of really bad movies on her own. They get together for a romantic comedy. Guess what kind of movie it is?
Bad?
Pretty bad.
But there's a lot of good eye candy in this movie with Brooklyn Decker.
Oh, my God. You know, she's actually pretty good. And I'd forgotten that she was a Sports Illustrated cover model. I'd heard that at one point. You tend to forget she's a model when she's in this. I mean, she's really, really good, very, very convincing as a just an ordinary person. She's supposed to be a school teacher in Los Angeles who falls for this womanizing plastic surgeon played by Adam Sandler. Now, Adam Sandler is not a convincing plastic surgeon. He's not, he's more of a candidate for plastic surgery. He's not even a convincing college graduate, in my opinion. But he's been living his life wearing a wedding ring, getting women who don't care about sleeping with a married man to sleep with him. And now he's got this one woman he wants to convince to actually marry him. That's Brooklyn Decker, who's 23, and Sandler's 70. And Jennifer Aniston is Sandler's office assistant. He hires her to pretend to be his wife so that he can go through a breakup with no hard feelings breakup, so that Brooklyn Decker's character can see that he's splitting up and that he's actually going to marry her. So he's creating this whole web of lies. And that's the funny thing about this movie is Sandler and Aniston have to sit at dinner with Brooklyn Decker and tell these whoppers about each other and sort of paint each other into a corner. Well, yeah, he was a great husband except for his erectile dysfunction and his irritable bowel syndrome. And she was a great wife except for all her pill popping. And each time they tell one of these whoppers, the other person has to sort of go with it. So that's the funny thing about it. But it's got insufferable kids in it. A little girl who made a movie here in town, Bailey Madison, is in it, and she is absolutely dreadful. You just want to smack her. And the worst sidekick Sandler's ever had is this is the guy that makes you long for the days when Rob Schneider did Adam Sandler movies.
Oh no!
Dan Patrick plays an MC at a hula dancing contest. He's very convincing of that. Make what you want of that.
Let me read you something Roger wrote in his review. All right. Quote, "It's a rarely amusing movie overwhelmed by grating kids, unfunny sidekicks, half-hearted Sandler funny voices and a co-star who seems more fearful of smiling with each passing year. You're so mean.
Yeah,
Moore.
I am. You know, that's what the web does to you, man. It makes you mean. It makes you cold.
Speaking of mean, Raj, I was reading something you wrote about this new movie theater in town that is adding, I guess they're adding these D-box seats that actually shake with the action of the movie, and you write, shaky seats, been there, done that, spilled my drink. What's going on with these shaky seats?
You know, this is something, the movie theater attendance has been in kind of free fall the last couple of years. You know, it's trended downward over the last 50 years since television came in, 60 years. But the last couple of years, it's been pretty bad. Since Avatar left theaters, it's not been, you know, attendance has been pretty steadily down. This year has been really bad. This weekend may be it may get a bump, but this year has been really bad, down 15% from last year, and last year wasn't a great year. So what the theaters are doing is they're trying to get more and more money out of the fewer patrons that are coming in. One of the things they're doing is throwing a lot of IMAX theaters, fake IMAX theaters, into the regular complex. They'll put a slightly larger screen and a nicer sound system, but it's not a real IMAX theater. So, for instance, here in Orlando, AMC Altamont Mall has an IMAX. It's not really an IMAX. I call them mini-maxes. And I believe Waterford Lakes Regal has one of those as well. And they charge you an extra $5 and for nothing. And the same thing with 3D. They charge you an extra $3 for that for nothing. And this is another way of getting that premium experience out there. And they've been talking about and using variations on this shaky seat thing for years and years and years. You go to any theme park here in Orlando, somebody's got a shaky seat ride where there's a video projected in front of you and the seat shakes in time and sync with the video, and that's supposed to create the illusion of motion. I can't imagine how well that would work in a movie theater. I have seen these things demonstrated at Show East, the big movie theater owners convention that comes to Orlando, or used to come to Orlando until last year, every fall, and nobody was really going for it, but now they're kind of desperate. And my suggestion would be maybe they need to start advertising again, because theaters pull back all their print advertising. You don't see ads for movie theaters anywhere, not on tape, TV, radio, or print, and that's where all the attendance went. So they're trying stupid stuff like the shaky seats instead.
So it's sort of like going to the Tower of Terror instead of going to a movie?
It's exactly like that. It's more like there were a couple of little cheap seat thrill rides. I think people who've lived here in town longer will recognize. There was one down, I think, on 192 down in Kissimmee. There was another one I seem to remember near Point Orlando when I first moved here that had just closed. It's a motion ride thing. You live in any tourist town, and I used to live near Gatlinburg, and they've got some version of it or had some version of it. They run for a little while, and then people lose interest in it. And that's the same thing with this. This is something that they're going to charge people extra admission for, and they're going to start it. It's going to open the 18th with this new movie, I Am Number 4, which is a sort of the sci-fi version of Twilight. It's like got hunky kids in it, fighting aliens, fighting to stay alive here on Earth while other aliens are hunting them. It's not bad, by the way. I've seen that, but I'm not sure the shaky seats are going to do anything to help you in the quality of experience.
So another movie that's coming out today, Drive Angry with Nicolas Cage. How bad must this movie be? All I see are trailers, ads for it all the time, and the more I see that, it makes me feel like they're just trying to convince people, please, please, please come see this movie.
Sprinty, you're jumping the gun again, pal. This movie doesn't open for a week.
Oh, it doesn't open for a week?
Yeah.
But so I thought I saw the date was this week. Okay.
They are not previewing that one. So it's going to be a dog. By the way, Amber Heard from that movie is going to be the Grand Marshal at tomorrow's Busch Budweiser shootout.
Okay.
At Daytona. She's flying into town tonight, and she's the co-star in that, and she's hotness incarnate. So if you're into hot young actresses, she'll be there waving the flag and say, "Gentlemen, start your engines."
Raj, before you go, okay, give us something uplifting about the movies this week. A good movie.
A good movie. Well, if you've got kids, there's a very good British animated film that Disney's releasing called Romeo and Juliet. And it's not a great film because you don't get great films in February or January. You get great films starting around April. You don't see really any great ones in March either. And it's the Romeo and Juliet story told through the eyes of garden gnomes that are feuding in adjoining backyards in Britain. And of course, Britons love their gardens, and they love their little garden tchotchkes. And these are gnomes that have been feuding. The red gnomes have been fighting with the blue gnomes for as long as anybody can remember. And when they kill each other, they break each other into bits. Tybalt is played.
Sounds
by,
like Florida State.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And Jason Statham plays Tybalt. He's the hothead that starts the blood feud. James McAvoy is Nomeo, and Emily Blunt is Juliet. And there's a couple of other funny voices you'll recognize. One of the best scenes in the movie, Nomeo goes to confess his love for Juliet to a statue in a nearby park, and the statue is of William Shakespeare, and Patrick Stewart is the voice of William Shakespeare. So it's a way of introducing kids under the age of 10 to the idea of this famous Shakespeare story, maybe get them a little bit interested in Shakespeare years before middle school and high school, where they actually have to start reading the stuff.
He is Roger Moore, movie critic for the Orlando Sentinel. Go to his wildly popular blog at orlandosentinel.com. Frankly, my dear. Roger, thanks for joining us this morning.